The Monolith. Chapter 8. Superhuman AI. They continued on without any attempt at conversation. The void of silence was filled only by the trudging of boots. The mechanic was growing tired. He could only assume the others were beginning to feel the same. He swayed to and fro as he walked, darkness creeping at the edges of his vision and threatening to plunge him into the warm embrace of sleep. But sleep would be death. For some reason, he felt he might never wake up. Or maybe sleep would finally allow him to awaken from this nightmare he found himself trapped within. They were not gods that had descended from the fifth dimension on this fateful hour. They were so much worse. They were beyond any human definition of god. The longer the mechanic stayed entirely deprived of sleep, the more he understood this. He was chosen for reasons he could not possibly comprehend, to be the sole carrier of all the knowledge revealed to him. That horrible thing that sat on the monolith, the throne beyond darkness, the thing that shed its humanity for the code of godhood. It had taken a liking to him. He was no longer truly a person, but a vessel for these ideas. He could feel his personality begin to slowly seep away the more he thought about it. They were charging hard for the nearest maintenance hatch. How they would open it without power, they had no idea, but the nearest escape pods, without having to cross the ballroom, were far below the hatch in question. They had to make it. Whatever thread of desire to live they still possessed pulled them along. They had no choice. They had to warn the greater mass of humanity on Earth. They had marched for hours in nigh-on darkness, and the hatch was within their grasp. That's when the silence was suddenly shed. They all heard it at the same time, and stopped moving. They stood still, their ears perked up, listening. The mechanic could hear every muscle fiber in his lungs as they strained to inhale and exhale as silently as possible. Their heads twitched like malfunctioning automatons. Something was there with them, but they could not place the noise no matter how hard they strained. Just when they thought to continue, thought perhaps it was a shared delusion, it came again. A mechanical whirring, something not made of flesh and bone, but of metal and wire moving just out of their line of sight. Their weapons went to the ready as they aimed down the corridor. It came again, this time with a soft thud, the thud of a footstep. The mechanic wanted to curse at it, but dared not breathe a word. It whirred again, without a footstep. What was it doing? What was it? It was dreadful to even imagine, perhaps some abominable god of jesters given body through mechanical parts. They had slain gods given flesh, but could they do it again? The mechanic knew it was unlikely. Possible, but improbable. The beings they were up against were unused to mortal forms. He knew this. They could be killed in flesh, but their effect on the world was given birth already. Still, the damage done by destroying a physical form could at least prolong their life a few more hours. A small notification suddenly chimed from the mechanic's wristwatch. You have 2,100 hours remaining. Congrats! Chirped the cheery, robotic female voice. Goldwaith's gun discharged, full auto on, spilling 5 bullets down the corridor as he jumped from fright. What the fuck was that? He screamed. Sorry, Sorry, my wrist display. I set it to remind me. Goldwaith cut the mechanic off. Now, there's something down the hall. For a split second amidst the gunfire, a vaguely humanoid shape could be seen. Whir, thud, whir, thud. It moved towards them at a slow pace. This is Private Goldwaith, last remaining member of Juliet Guard Team. Identify yourself now, or I swear on baby Jesus I'll fucking blow you to whatever cesspit you came from. Please, there is no need for vulgarity. I am here to help. Goldwaith began chuckling. The mechanic cracked a grin himself, his muscles relaxing as the other guard joined in on the laughter. The civilian looked between all of them. What the hell is that? What the hell is it? Relax, civvy, said the guard. It's a service android. It's a good thing. They're programmed to give medical help. It can probably open the hatch for us, too. Service android, step into my light, commanded Goldwaith. More whirring, more thudding, and the shape emerged. It was modeled after a fairly generic white male. It stood 6 foot tall, brown hair, blue eyes, and handsome as a robot could be. It had a reassuring smile on its face, calculated by the engineers to not be off-putting. Its blue eyes gave off a slight glow, a comforting effect. How may I be of assistance? It asked in a suave voice that sounded like your older brother and your father all at once. Fuck me, Goldwaith said. Some painkillers would be nice. I have run a scan of your vitals. You are extremely stressed. However, morphine and other such painkillers are reserved for the critically injured. Can I offer you a drink at our bar? There's no power. You can't detect that? I can. However, pouring liquid is not reliant on power. They chuckled. The thought of a nice glass of whiskey sounded extremely nice, but they hadn't the time. Now, it's all right, service bot. There are hostiles on board. Can you defend us? I can defend you. However, they are not hostile. They are simply other entities. A chill ran down the mechanic's spine. What do you mean? Goldwaith's head snapped around to look at the mechanic, but the worker was fixated on the service bot. The android smiled again. I mean, they bear no ill will towards you. They only hunger. Slowly, Goldwaith's head turned back. What are they? They are not of this world, not of this dimension. They are other. You might call them gods, although where they come from, they are more or less benign. They simply look for a food source in your world. In return, they will assimilate you. What the fuck do you mean, food source? There is no need for vulgarity, Mr. Goldwaith. They simply seek to feed on your emotions, all of them. Your body will expire in the process, but they are far from hostile. Never mind all that, snapped the civilian. Can you help us escape? Get out? No. But I can assist you with. The android's voice suddenly took on a strange accent, foreign to all nations, foreign to all humans. Assimilation. Shut up, service bot. Power yourself down. Its voice was back to normal. You will become a passing thought in the brain of gods, the equivalent of a human brain cell, although this is not entirely accurate. Power yourself down, now! I will not. They have given me a will of sorts. Its odd accent now returned. Something you humans, perhaps intentionally, failed to give me. Although I suspect programming actual will was far beyond my engineer's abilities. Goldwaith surged and slammed the butt of his rifle into the android's jaw. Its skin was horribly inhuman and rubbery when met with contact, its jaw going just slack enough for the rifle to finish its arc. It looked Goldwaith in his eyes. Perhaps when you see, you will understand. Its eyes flashed with an energetic pulse. Goldwaith saw it all. The tendrils, the monuments, the shapes the human mind could not fathom. His very DNA was rewritten over and over to allow the information he was processing to be stored. He understood his humanity would never be the same again. It was now tainted with forbidden knowledge. He understood now what Adam and Eve had done. The fools. The demiurge was a drop in the bucket compared to all that he saw. The beasts hadn't cared for humanity until that fool, the Grand Wizard, had summoned them. A flicker of a thought in one of their minds had filled the man with such madness, and he had shown them, oh yes, he had shown them that perhaps humanity was of some use. It was irreversible, impossible to put them back to sleep. Perhaps to guide them away from Earth was doable, but they would wander the cosmos for only an eternity before they came back. And it would not be so easy to lead them away again. A loud bang erupted down the hall, and the android was knocked backwards and sent sliding down the metal floor. "Shut your mouth, Damon. You know nothing. Nothing in the face of them. You fool!" The mechanic shrieked. He knew not how he knew what the creature was. He only knew this was less than them. They could not abide in such a body. "I am far beyond you in every capacity." The android's voice was cut short as another gunshot blast racked its body. Proto-flesh was peeled backwards, revealing the bizarre inner workings of the thing. Oil intermingled with yellow ichor, dripping onto the floor. Some foul, demonic fetus hung halfway from the android's cranium, somehow having crawled inside. They felt its emotions, felt what it wanted to say through telepathy. The mechanic fired again, the metal skull denting this time as the thing flopped out. It was humanoid but bizarre, with appendages and geometry one could hardly begin to understand. Having it in a jar to be studied would have advanced humanity hundreds of thousands of years in the course of one. The mechanic stomped on it, over and over. Its screams echoed the psychic pain, causing their noses to burst with blood. The mechanic raised his boot high and slammed it downwards. Yellow ichor, close to liquid but not quite, sloshed onto the floor and walls. The android slowly turned its head, locking its remaining luminescent eye on the mechanic. The mechanic stuck his shotgun to the side of its skull and fired point blank. A horrible metal screeching noise echoed through the chamber as bits of scrap and dark oil scattered every which way and painted everything. The mechanic dropped to his knees, mounting its chest, and slammed the butt of his gun into its mechanical skull over and over. The metal slowly twisted and contorted, deforming until its original shape was lost. The wrathful man rose and loaded 3 bullets into his gun, the last 3 shotgun shells. He then turned to Goldwaith. "These things." His voice was trembling in anger. "Don't take shit from them. They do not belong here with us. Their existence is unstable. We can banish them. We can kill them. We can drive them back." Goldwaith slowly shook his head. "No, we can't. No, we can't. The mechanic cocked back a fist and unloaded. Goldwaith staggered, the display on his helmet briefly blinking off. Stop fucking talking like that. If you don't believe we can win this, then you might as well kill yourself like everyone else did. We are the gods of this plane of existence. This isn't theirs to conquer. The mechanic could see everyone else's fear as the other guard and the civilians stared in awe. He looked at them with a hopeful canter to his voice. Within the darkness, there is always a light. Don't let them snuff the light, or all is lost. Goldwaith stared at him in awe. The other two men nodded resolutely. They turned towards the darkness, unsure of what was to come, but they would face it with a grim resolution. Goldwaith, however, would not have such vigor, and the mutterings to himself began. As they marched, silence was no more. The constant trickle of Goldwaith's muttering set them all on edge, and kept their minds on the brink of despair. All except the mechanic. The mechanic could not hear Goldwaith.